Exa.
Ex-16 fit.
Sharp fit.
Buka ditafile man.
Tafile.
Ndiyakubona. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
boy. Okay. Let's get straight into it. Okay, so let's just go. I wanted to speak about systems, né?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of systems in life, né? Like in terms of like if you look at the education system, the law is a system, the health system. There's a lot of systems in life. You are a part of. You are yourself a collection of systems, and like what people kind of get, or what people are getting to is to a point where when there's something wrong within the system, né, then they kind of just say, you know what, well, screw the system. Like the system's not working.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think that's a very narrow-minded way of thinking.
Mm.
Yeah, because if you understand that no system is perfect, right, then you can kind of understand that then even if you say screw this system, you're gonna go to another system, and that system is gonna have its problems. So if you always go to then be saying to yourself, okay, well, when something doesn't work, I'm just gonna say screw that and move on to another system. You're gonna keep doing that forever.
So you're basically saying that no matter where you go, how many times you change something, there's always going to be something. There's always going to be a problem within that thing.
Yes.
So you just got to choose which problem you want to deal with.
Yes. Instead of uprooting a system. So for instance, it's like a system of marriage or a relationship is a system where you meet someone, you connect. You have problems, she has problems. Just like you have good things, she has bad traits, right? And then what happens is then, if you keep saying to yourself, every single time that you're in a relationship and anything is bad, I leave.
Yes.
Who are you gonna end up being with?
Nobody, by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So to get to a point where what you do in that situation, and then you say, okay, well, you have some bad stuff, I have some bad stuff, right? I don't really mind your bad stuff, and you don't really mind mine. Well, even if the bad stuff that about you that I mind, I'm willing to try to work with them or to change. Same thing that she does with you, and then through that, that's when you get a relationship. That's when you get marriage. Yeah, but to think that, oh, okay, well, women are trash, men are trash, to hell with men altogether. It's like, okay, do you think you'll ever in your entire life be in a connection, in a relationship? And also that relationship, as soon as you say men are trash or women are trash, you're eliminating people that are your friends, that are your family. They're part of that. Yeah, well, the same thing happens with work, for example, where you say, okay, well, there's a certain structure within work, let's say, right? So with everything, there's a foundation or a structure where things work by, right? And then people get pulled into those structures. And you say there's a manager, and then there's a supervisor, and then there's a boss, and all this stuff, right? And now you're working as just part of the workers, yeah?
Yeah.
And then you like what you're doing, right? These days, or what's going on is that people say, well, you know what? This whole place is nonsense. Let me just
quit.
Uproot the whole system.
Yeah.
Whereas they don't understand that the system, the core of it works. There's certain structures within it that are terrible, but you can't then just say, like, sir, screw this whole system. Because as soon as you do that, right, then the people that are in the system, first of all, don't then get to work. You don't get to work. You don't get promoted.
Exactly.
And then you have the system that you have at home.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you can either then stay in the system and work with the problems and then, encounter the issues that you're going to get, instead of saying, like, sir, I'm just going to, burn this whole place down.
Yeah.
And it tries into many things like that. It's the same with the education system. It's the same with the racial system. Like, okay, the education system, you don't like it. Okay, so what should we do? Should we just say, you know what, screw education? There's no point of it. It's like, how is that even possible? Of course, again, there's going to be things in that system that are not working, or there's going to be things in that system maybe this wasn't a good thing for us to teach. Maybe let's change that part of the system, right? And then you go and you work at that, but you don't then say, the education system is corrupt based on those little things that you have. or the problems that are in it. Yeah, because as soon as you say the education system is corrupt, then that means that you are corrupt because you have education system and education system within yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, I get you. 100%.
Yeah, same with you as a person, individually. If you are a collection of systems, if you have a cancer or an illness, you know, or an injury, you don't say, "Oh, let me cut off this whole leg." You say, "Oh, that hamstring is injured. Okay, let me now fix the hamstring." You don't then burn the rest of your body because of a torn hamstring. You're a collection of systems. You have a cancer in your pancreas. You don't then take out all your organs. You then go to the pancreas and you work with that cancer, and you see where it could have spread, and you work with it. But you don't just say do everything. So you find that these movements that have been happening, for example, like with this Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ and this gender-based violence movement. It's like, okay, cool. You have a point. No one says that you don't have a point. Like, okay, fine, these people are being oppressed. These people are being oppressed. But as soon as, again, you say, well, then everyone that oppresses me, I'm going to delete. Do you understand that you are one of those people as well? And that those people are going to come and delete you too?
True facts, man. Keep going.
And that's how these things fracture within themselves, because then it's like, okay, well, let's say I'm a male and I'm a black male, right? Then I'll say, okay, you know what? The system of women oppressing men, I hate it, right? I hate women. Let me just go and kill all women, or let me just go and burn all women, right? Do I realize that at some point I'm going to have to come to my sister and my mother? Because they're part of the structure, right? So just because there is a bit of cancer within that, you don't then take out the whole body, because then what happens is, as soon as I even do that, I'm part of it because I was born by the structure.
Do you know? Another thing that I realized, like when people, let's say people get hurt, for instance, they get heartbroken in a relationship, they go into another relationship. As soon as they find something small that they don't like, something small, they get irritated by something small, they cut out the whole relationship. I mean, that's the generation that we are going into now. These are things that I see, that I've experienced. I mean, I'm in a different country now, but I still see these things are quite hectic. People give up so easily, man. They don't try to fix the thing within the system to make the system work, you know? I mean, we all have weaknesses. We all have weakness. It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, no matter where you go, you're going to find a weakness within someone. To make a relationship strong, you got to work on each other's weaknesses and help the other person with his weakness. If you're not willing to do that, the relationship is not going to work. That's why most people, if they have problems, they don't want to go see a psychologist. You have problems within the relationship, and you know that a psychologist is the one that's going to solve this relationship, and you're so stubborn that, no, I don't want to go see a psychologist, I don't want to do this, blah, 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 and that's just messing you up, and it's messing the entire relationship. And you have, let's say you have kids, you have people around you, it's just messing up your entire life. While you could have just dropped your pride and understand that there's something wrong and you need to get help. And then you can actually go to a psychologist with your partner and solve this thing that's going on, and the system keeps working. Instead of dropping everything, dropping the relationship, cutting everybody out, man, you're going to end up alone, and what's next after that?
Yep. Yeah.
And like you said, everything has a system in the world. Everything. There's even, what do you call this, girl code, guy code, all these things. And another thing that I experience is that, let's say you mess up one person, okay? Let's say you hurt one person, and both of you have, let's say, the same friends. You know, you're in the same group of friends, and maybe you and this person don't get along. The funny thing is that this person, what they do is they influence all the other people to hate you. You know,
the whole system.
Exactly, and those people actually have no reason to hate you. They only hate you because that other person told them to hate you. Then which I don't understand. Why do people do that?
Yeah.
You did not mess it. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. So I was saying that's exactly what movements are. That's what they do.
Yeah.
It's exactly that. It's like, okay, so people are oppressing you. Okay, cool. You are also an oppressor. Do you know that?
Exactly.
No, I'm not an oppressor. It's like, yeah, of course you're. Like at some point, you are oppressing something. Like you can't, like just because you're denying it doesn't mean that it's not there. Yeah, just because you are a woman, for example, right, and you falling victim or you fall victim to violence from males, doesn't mean that you're only the victim. Because then as a woman as well, you maybe bullied other women, and they're becoming, then you also a problem. Exactly. So then what happens then is, as soon as you go after men and you go after all the abusive men and you think that you're a saint, the people that you've bullied are going to come with you just as viciously. Yeah. So it's very easy to think of yourself as being a victim because then everything works for you. The game works. Yeah. The game works within your system that, okay, well, I just have to look at it this way. And I'm not willing to open up my eyes to then say, okay, you know what? Let me work with this relationship. Let me work with the negatives here. Let me see what I can change. And you're always pointing outward because it's comfortable for you. That, I mean, why would you want to look at yourself and think, oh my gosh, I'm able to do this? But you want to be able to do that because then you understand that you're not a saint as the way that you think you are. So when someone says something to you, before being defensive, accept what they're saying. And then you have dialogue. Like, say, okay, cool, I was this type of person. Okay, I see these problems in you. Okay, what do we do now? Okay, well, I can try and do this and that. You can try and do this and this. Where the problems come in is where you're then so stubborn to your own thoughts and to your own oppressive nature that you think that, no, Glenn, I am the law. So this is the way that I'm supposed to be.
It's the same. It's the same on Twitter. When you post something, let's say you post something just for fun, you know, Twitter should be your free space, man. Like you want to post something, you know, something you're doing for the day, or you know, you post something and people get really sensitive. You know, you don't even mean that thing. You know, I posted something this one time and I had people attacking me. You know, I posted something about my black sisters or something like that. It was a joke. You know, I'm black, they're black, so. What's the problem, you know? So I just posted something, a joke, and these people attacked me, man. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Why are these people attacking me? It's almost like they're waiting for something to happen so that they can attack you. That's also like a type of system. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I don't get why people think that way, man. It's
again, I think the reason, I think I understand why they think that way. Because again, like I said, it's better to see yourself as being as being the one that's the victim, because then the game works. Because then if I see myself as, oh, no, you offended me, then you have to say sorry to me instead of me saying sorry to you for something, because that's a bit harder for people, right? So it's easier to see yourself as a victim. So as soon as you do something that I think is wrong, I come and I bash you and I attack you. Why did you post this? Why did you say this? Why did you change it? Which is what a cancel culture pretty much is these days, right? It's like everything that you do wrong, I'm going to come at you. And then you say, okay, cool. Do you know that I can just find one thing that you have done that is wrong and I'll come after you too? Yeah, well, so the exact same group that you have formed to go after other people will be the same group that's going to turn around and come after you.
And attack you.
And everyone else in your group, because everyone else in this group has an issue. Everyone have an issue. You have negative. You can't, like, again, you might say, no, I don't have negatives, and being denial about it. It's like, okay, cool. And even sometimes you find that you might not have a negative now. Let's say by miracle standards, you don't have a miracle, you don't have a negative now. What makes you think next week you won't have a negative? And this is what happens as well. Is like you can say stuff today, that's fine. Tomorrow the law comes up and says, look, if you say stuff like this, that's terrible. Then people say, oh, but you said this yesterday. So therefore, now it's a problem. But when you said it, it's not a problem. So now all of a sudden, whatever you said yesterday is a problem for tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, it's like that will happen. As time goes by, there's certain jokes that comedians have made 10 years ago that in 10 years' time it won't be acceptable. So now does that mean you call them out for stuff like that? So, okay, fine. Let's say you can. You'll call them out for stuff like that. Okay. What makes you think that won't happen to you? Yeah, well,
so why go out and call people for that, you know?
Yeah, especially when whatever you're doing is going out for someone's head, because you definitely gonna you can be guaranteed that as soon as you then make people pay for your costs, they're gonna do the same to you. It's like the thing is, it's fine if it's like if I do something wrong, I call myself, like I do whatever I need to do for myself, for example. But as soon as I do something, if I'm choosing, okay, I'm gonna do something, but you must pay for it, then you're gonna say, oh wait, this is not fair, and then you're gonna come for me after that as well, because when you do something, you say, okay, cool, then you pay for that too. Yeah, and again, then it's like the system that you have, as much as there's negatives, you don't just uproot the whole thing. Yeah, but it's like systems in the army, for example. There's rankings within it. That structure works. You might say, oh, my boss this and my boss that is terrible. I don't like the fact that I have to listen to a boss. Okay, so what are you gonna do? You're gonna burn the whole structure up. Okay, then next week when you then become the boss, what do you do then? How are you gonna climb up the rankings? And now the people that are underneath, you're gonna say, yes, no. Remember last week you said that you didn't want this.
You don't like.
Yeah. So again, across time, these structures are there, and they've stood there for them to work. Yes, we can tweak things in there. It's the same with slavery, for example. Yeah, well, slavery wasn't a system based on race. It was just a system to say, okay, we're these people. I want these people to work for me, and I'm not going to give them anything for it. Okay, so therefore they're going to be my slaves. Time went by. Then they said, okay, well, let's just pick a race. Let's say these people, because it's easier. You say these people for us. Yeah, but the system of slavery has been there, right? Because now that's how you get to a point where people say, like, I'm working for peanuts. I'm a slave.
You don't think the system is still there? I think it's still there.
What, the slavery system? No, I'm saying it is still there. Yeah, I'm saying it is still there. But what I'm saying is that same process is the same process that then says that gets you paid. So you wake up in the morning to go and do a job, and then you say, okay, so this part of slavery I didn't like, where I had to go and do a job and I wasn't paid for it, right? But all I can do is then say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna do a job, but now pay me for it. So you're still slaving away, but now you've corrected that part of the system that wasn't good, that wasn't negative.
Yeah.
So you corrected that pancreatic cancer, but you didn't spoil the whole body. Yeah, well, so that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you need to call out things like that. You need to call out apartheid systems, because then you don't want to get to a point where it gets out of hand. But then you don't just say, okay, well then everyone live freely with no rules and no structure. It's like, okay, well, how are you going to learn? How are you going to advance? It's like if you cut out capitalism, for example, the capitalist system, blow it so you say poor people are at the bottom, rich people are at the top. The system doesn't work. Let's just go and burn every single mansion in the world, and let's call out all the rich people and burn all of them to the ground. Okay, sharp. And then the system starts again. What do you think happens? The people that were rich end up at the top again, because they probably worked for what they have.
Yeah.
So the system is still there. You can burn it down as much as you want, and you'll probably still end up at the bottom, because again, it's like you're at the bottom for a reason. Right? And you'll still end up at the bottom because, again, you harbor all these things of, oh, well, the people at the top are only there because they've taken from you. Then they say, okay, fine, start the system from scratch and see what's going to happen then. People at the top still rise to the top. And you need that system to work.
At the end of the day, you still have to fucking work. It doesn't matter what you do. You still have to work. You can change places, you can complain about things, you still have to work. That's it.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly. So it's, I think, again, it's like you get to a culture where it's like people that protest, for example. You say, we don't like this that's going on. Let's go and burn things in the street. Okay, cool. Go and you burn stuff in the street. Tomorrow you wake up, you need to go to work. How do you get there? You can't, because you burned the whole system. Right? Now you have to go and burn more things, and say, okay, well, you built the system. Now there's no journeys. Now there's no buses for you to go to work because you burned.
One question, bro.
Hey?
I see you mentioning all these the negative things that people do to try to stop the system, you know, or to fight the problem within the system. what do you suggest people should do, like positives, for people to survive within these systems, to be happier, to make it work for them? What do you think
Yeah.
people should do?
I think, okay, so dialogue is very important. So to actually have conversations, right, like we're doing now. It's like we might disagree on certain things, but to have a dialogue means that I'm listening to you, you're listening to me. So I can learn from what you're saying. I'm also learning from what I'm saying too, because now I'm interacting with you. So to have a dialogue is always a good thing to have, right? And I understand why people look at negatives, because negatives is what poisons you. Negatives is what kills you. So you want to focus on it. But I think a lot of the time as well is to give credit where credit is due. And that's also a big thing. So you want to have dialogue, but at the same time, you want to look at positives and say, okay, well, you know what? My school might have been terrible in certain things, but let me actually reward it when it's nice. Let me actually mention it when it's good. Yeah, well, it's like if you go on Twitter, for example, like what you were saying, right? And you have all your comments that you've been saying that's positive. People don't care about it. They look at the negative comments.
Oh yes, oh yes,
yeah,
oh
yes. No, mean that you are completely terrible. It means that maybe whatever comment that you said, for instance, was bad. So just don't like that comment. But it's fine to like this one.
They wait for you to do something wrong and then they attack you. They wait for that mistake and then they hit you.
Yeah, bro. It's like on social media, for example. Like you see sometimes someone will have a thread with someone, yeah? And say you're talking to another person, right? And I don't like the viewpoint of that person, the opening viewpoint, right? What most people do is that they say, okay, well then I don't like this person, so I'm gonna like everything that you say. For instance, and they like all your comments that you say. But they don't even know what the comment means, right? So again, what I'm saying is it's like, sometimes it's fine to say, you know what, I don't like this person's viewpoint, but he made a point here, so I can like that.
Yes.
And this guy, I like what he says, but let me not like that. So this whole thing of like thinking within like a dome of, no, this person's terrible, this person's good. It's like, well, that person has some good in him. Like just like this person has some bad in him.
Exactly.
So focus also on the good. Again, it comes back to relationships, what you're talking about now. It's like when you fight with your girlfriend or your wife, you like to focus on the times where you guys are fighting. But when last when you guys did something that you liked, that you told her? But I said, look, actually, I like the fact that you really made nice food. I like the fact that you actually didn't put me down when I was going through something. I like the fact that you didn't rat me out to you, whatever it is. I like the fact that
some positives, man, some positives.
Exactly, bro. You know, I like the fact that you took time out from work and came to cook. Or I like the fact that you know, anything like that. Yeah, but you're just wait. But what people generally are programmed to do is to wait for when you then burn the food.
I think the problem with most people is like they have more energy to push negative things than positive things. You know, let's say the more like, let's say relationships or anywhere else, people like to put a lot of energy when it comes to negative things, fighting over small things. And when it comes to the positive, they keep quiet. They don't say anything. But that's the most important thing. That's where you should put the energy. That's where the negatives will become less powerful, you know, when you encourage each other in the positive stuff. So I mean, I've also been in relationships, and what you're saying, you're 100% correct, man. Like we wait for the small things, man, and then we attack each other, like anger all the time. But when someone makes lovely food, it's just like quiet, we eat, finished, done, the night is finished. Now you don't have the motivation to do that again, because you have these thoughts also going in your mind that, hey, shit, this person did not say anything and I was doing this for them, you know. Sometimes just a small comment for you to say, hey, in fair to the food was really nice, man. Thank you so much, man. It was really nice for you to come over and give me a small massage, or it was really nice for you to give me a compliment. You know, it really made my day. You know, those are the things that we should point out, you know, even on Twitter, even on Instagram, we should start pointing out all the positive things more and more and more and more, instead of attacking people because of their negatives. Someone makes a mistake in life, we take a video, we put it on Instagram. Everybody starts laughing at him. 100 million comments because of that. Something positive, not that many comments, you know. People just look at it, it's nothing. We don't encourage that. But at the same time, what's killing us is all the negative things. But yet we still support the negatives. We still push all our energy into that. And I mean, that's why we all dead, but we are alive. Most of us are dead, but we are alive. See, we are alive, we're breathing, but we're dead because of all of these things. And most people are afraid to express themselves because of this. This crazy system of people just focusing on negatives. So people are just so afraid to go out in life and prove who they are and show who they are. You know, maybe you always had something that you really wanted to do in life, but you're scared to do it because of the system. You know, it's crazy, man. I'm telling you, there's a lot of talented people out there. They are not even willing to do or to go on social media or to post something like that. And then what they have is really beautiful. It's nice for people to see, but they're just afraid of how people are going to attack them negatively, you know? So yeah, man.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, that's exactly the truth, bro. Again, it's like it's very easy to look at the political system and point out all the things that don't work. You know, point out the fact that education systems like this, point out the fact that money gets lost. We're gonna point out the fact that maybe what do you call this? COVID is terrible, and it's like, man, when last did you even hear anything positive about certain systems? Like nothing at all. Yeah, so you get into situations where, and again, one of the things that I think that a lot of us should do personally, and change the people that are around, change the way that you then start to encounter things, instead of always again looking for a negative there. So you know what, actually, well, I guess the ANC did something good. Well, I guess the DA did something good, or the Democrats, or whatever, the Republicans did something. Just like you want to do the same with family, just like you want to be done with you, just like you want it to be done to your relationship. You don't just say, oh, the system, okay, I'm gonna call it out when it's terrible. I mean, when it's terrible, I'm gonna barely get it down, because that system will come back and do the same to you. Because then if you're gonna only be looking at the negatives, again, when you go back to your relationship, you're looking at the negatives, you tell her, okay, you burned the food. Oh, okay, cool. You know that as soon as you even do anything that's remotely negative, all hell will break.
All hell will break.
And walking on eggshells all the time. So give positive where positive is true. That when you then get it as well, when you do positive, you'll get it back. And everything that you see around you will be moving you into a positively reinforced type of world instead of negative.
You see, people start complaining about socks, when they complain about cows and stuff like that. And another thing is, there's a lot, when you our culture, we go to the bush, There's a lot of negative that, but I feel like there's more positive in that than everything else. I'm still living my life with those, what do you call it? No, not positives, but within that system, when we went to the bush, that was the system, but there was negatives and there was positives in the system, but they are saying there was more positives, but I'm still living with those, is it values? Yeah, with those values. I'm still using that in my life, Yeah, you go to the bush, you get whatever happens, circumcised and blah, blah, and that happens. People only see, because I mentioned like, oh no, I want to take my son to the bush. The answer was no. You're not taking your son to the bush. He's not going to the bush. They don't see the positive within that, because when I went there, I learned to appreciate water. I made friends in life. I made actually brothers, because I can see anybody that I went to the bush with, the brotherhood, man. It's like we're family, because we suffered the same pain, we dealt with the same thing, and also in the bush I learned to live by myself, to become a man. That's the whole part of it, and within that you have your first house in the bush, that's what they call it, and after that. It moves on in lives, and it moves on. And there's a part where they tell you don't look back. Exactly. It means that from now, from here, you're moving forward. What happens then? You leave every clothing that you had within your boyhood, because now you're moving to the next level of your life, right? So you let go of all those things and you start moving and you're getting new things. Do you understand? And you're excited about those new things. So that is a perfect example how you should live life. And whoever created that system is a genius, man. The way I look at it is a genius. And they even teach you at the bush that the next house now that you're going to get is you're going to get a wife, you're going to get kids, you're going to get that, and you're going to keep working as hard as you are working here. You know, the work never stops. It's at the end, so that never ever stops. And that's one thing that I got from the bush. And man, I always think it's about what, 9, 10 years ago? And I'm still using those values and living within that system because it was amazing. But people who don't understand it and people who only look at negatives, then they won't send their kids there or something like that.
This whole thing, uproot the system, Masifun, and then
Yeah.
say, okay, cool. What alternative do you have to teach these things? Nothing. And any other alternative that you can think about is going to come with a negative.
Mm.
So then what happens then? Do we then just say there's no systems at all? Because every system will have a negative. You can't think of something that's not going to be negative to someone else or be negative in the future.
It's like when you spoke about like this movement going around, men are trash or women like this, but not all men are like that, man. Not all women are like that, but there's this thing that they just want to cut out all the men or they just want to cut out all the women, you know, and yeah. I don't support these movements, man. I hate it when people.
This is the thing as well, bro. Is that like, as much as again, it's like there are people that are trash. There are people that are rape. There are people that are evil, right? You're no better because you also have negatives. You might think you're better relative to a rapist, but who are you to judge someone? Right? Because then as soon as you go and you point fingers, when that person has a chance to come and call you out, they will do exactly the same. Yeah. So again, it's like within that system, you need to watch out when you then say, okay, you know what, let me just burn the whole system down, because that system will come up and then burn you down as well.
Exactly. Because you can't burn all men, you can't burn all women. No, you have to just, like you said, you spoke about having cancer and you have to fix that part. It's just that part that you have to fix and your body will function, you know? Once again, instead of just cutting the whole thing off, man, how are you supposed to function, you know? It's like, the funny thing is, when you cut off something from the thigh and put it in the knee, do you expect that thing to work 100%? Let's say you have an ACL injury and they cut off something from your thigh and they put it in your knee. You weren't designed. You weren't born that way. But yes, it will make your knee function a bit, but it won't function the way it used to function.
There will be negative.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
So even with that alternative change that you think it's gonna help a little bit, but there'll still be negatives.
Negatives, exactly.
Yeah.
It won't fix it won't fix the entire situation, but I mean, it will be able to help you to move forward in some type of way, you know? So you gotta accept a little bit of negativity in your life. You know, I have bad days, I have good days, but I make sure I make use of the good days, man. I make sure that I'm feeling really good. I get everything that I want. I do positive. I do great for people. When I'm having a bad day, I lock myself in the room, you know? I chill and I understand that this is going to pass. You know, instead of just being miserable and putting everybody else down and going looking for negatives on social media, I sit alone at home or I talk to a good friend, you know, and ask for some advice. And he always gives me good advice, encourages me to be a bit positive. That helps, man, you know? So, I mean, always expect negatives and positives in your life and just make the best out of the positives, you know, and know that the negatives are going to pass.
And don't dwell on the negatives, because as soon as you do that, then you become a ball of negatives.
Exactly.
So again, you need the negatives to be there so you understand what a positive is. You can't have one without the other. It's a yin-yang situation. Can't have, because if you have a negative today, how are you going to know it's a negative if there's no positive? There's nothing to compare.
Exactly.
Really. So the bad days that you have, you realize, well, hey, actually, when I have an opposite data, that's what I can call a positive.
Mm.
Right? So when you're going to go focus on the negative all the time, that's how you become depressed. That's how you become anxious. And you leave the parts that are actually good with you, the parts that actually work, the parts that actually keep moving, right? And as soon as you focus on that, then you say, actually, you know what? I'm growing, and I've grown. Growing as together with the negatives, because they'll be there. I need them to grow. Yeah, same with the system. Like, it's going to be there. There's going to be certain negatives. But I need to focus on the positives, because as soon as I focus on the negatives, then it becomes a spiral. That's why these movements never work. Because again, point outwards and they say, there's the problem there. They're the problem, and not me. It's like, okay, sharp. Then after 2 months, they fizzles out. Boom, everyone's gone to their little things, because now someone in that same movement attacks someone else in the same movement. And they attack someone else in the same movement, because then they realize that, oh, there's actually negatives within us too. Right? And then with that same energy, they go after each other, and then they disband. Then they go straight back to what you're doing, until another week comes where someone else gets murdered, or someone else gets raped, or someone else gets whatever it is, right? That's negative, right? It's like, okay, cool, yeah, we need to solve that, right? But stop pointing fingers, because as soon as you point fingers, those people are going to point fingers back at you. And then again, it's going to be for like 2 weeks, and then fizzles out.
Circle, circle, circle.
And your whole life becomes like that. Then you become someone that's sensitive to negativity, someone that's sensitive to only the bad traits or the bad things that happen in life, because you're like that. Focus on that.
I feel like, we sometimes create these type of people who are just negative, man, because of the negative things that we say. If you watch the movie The Joker, have you watched that movie? Have you seen how that guy just became evil while he was trying to be a nice guy, trying to be a clown, and everybody just threw negativity at him? And the only thing that he experienced was negativity. And then he became that negative person. And then now he becomes a serial killer. He becomes a rapist. He becomes all these bad things that we don't want in life. But we don't notice by keeping negative to people, we are actually destroying them inside. We are changing them into things that they don't want to be. You get people who grew up in families, abusive families, and those people have been living negative lives for, imagine living a negative life for your entire life. And then when you come out to the world, they throw you more negativity, throw you with more negativity. What happens to you, man? You basically say, fuck the world, and you're just doing all these bad things. But if you could just be positive as a person and give any random person, man, just a nice compliment. You don't know what they're going through in the day, just give them a nice compliment. Be nice, smile, just something small. Or if you can give them something, give them something. You never know whose life you are saving. You might even saving a person from going to jail, and you might be saving a life, or maybe even 10 lives by you just being a little bit positive in life. And stop saying negatives to people. Or you see someone in the road, you look at them ugly, or you laugh at someone when something bad. All those things, we create those type of people that become serial killers and become bad things in life. So if we change the way we think and start being nicer, I'm telling you, man, we might save a lot of people in the world. But that's the system, boy. That's just one solution how to solve the problem within the system. It doesn't mean it's going to solve the whole system, but it's going to solve the problem, within the small problem within the system. Like taking that piece of your thigh and putting it in the knee and still be able to function. Not at 100%, maybe 75 or 80, but we're still moving forward, we're getting better, and I think that's what matters.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, focus. Again, it's like, yeah, definitely there's going to be negatives. There's negatives with everything. There's going to be negatives. Try to focus on the positive. Don't overlook it, because you get to a point where then you don't even know what's positive and negative anymore. Anything that you see is negative. And you get people that get to points like that where they don't even see anything that's good. They become colorblind. They become negative blind, positive blind, where you're looking at something and you say, anything that's male, anything that's female, anything that's black, or anything that's white is terrible.
Yeah.
And then when you get to that point, it's almost impossible to come out of it, because then you've already changed your mind to say, okay, well, any man to me means they're terrible, so therefore all men are terrible. And the guy that tries to come to you and try to help you, you say, "Ah, he's probably trying to kill me too. So screw that."
Yes.
And then it's like, well, want to live that way? Fine. Good luck to you. Because then you end up in situations where you throw everyone away. Whereas it can also happen the other way around. When you think, you know what? I know a little bit of bad in this person. Let me try and work with the positive. Let me try and work with something that's positive. And then you get to a point where you don't want to be completely blind to the negatives, but you want to get to a point where you focus on the positives. Then when the negatives pop up, you say, hey, look, stop doing that. I don't like that. Or you say, hey, look, try to do this better than that. You don't want to be oblivious to negatives, because then you get naive. Then everything that comes to you is positive, and you forget that there's actually snakes in the grass.
Exactly.
Yeah, all those snakes are going to want to be venomous. Some of them want to bite, some of them want to play, regardless of whether they're snakes or not. Yeah, so don't be oblivious that there's going to be snakes there. But at the same time, it's like they're not all poisonous. So be aware, but don't focus on only the poisonous ones. Focus also on the ones that actually look beautiful, because there are. If you think that all of them are going to be poisonous, then you'll never see the beauty. Yeah, and then
Preach.
Let me destroy all the snakes in the garden. And it's like, okay, cool. Destroy all the snakes in the garden, and then see what's going to happen then to the rest of the ecosystem. It won't work. And you then won't work, because then you actually need those snakes for the ecosystem. Yeah. So,
100%. 100%. Yeah. That's why the lions are there to eat the bushbucks, man. So we don't have too much bushbucks, you know. So hey, they're true, man. It's true. But yeah, boy. But I mean, I think I'll have to go soon. Because I have something I have to hit today. But I mean, you can finish up, you know, conclusion fast.
We've mentioned everything, man, that we wanted to say now. Again, like I say, it's like with all these systems, again, you want to have a look at a system. You know that there's negatives with it. You know that there's positives with it. Try to focus a lot on the positives. Don't try to throw the system out of the window because of the negatives, because as soon as you do that, you will have to throw every other system out the window, because every other system has negatives. You want to better the system that you're in, just like a relationship. Try to better it. If you can't better it, move out the system. Maybe then you're the problem to the system. It doesn't. You are the problem to the system.
Deep.
Right?
Deep.
So again, it's like, it's the same with, again, if you're living in a country, or you're in different countries, or you're living, I mean, in one country, you're complaining about the education system. Maybe you're the problem to that system, because that same system works for other people.
Adapt or die, my friend. Adapt or die.
Exactly.
Adapt or die, man. And stop and stop blaming the system. You know, sometimes, like you said, you could be the problem within the system. So instead of trying to burn down the whole system, remove yourself from the system.
Remove yourself from the system. That system functioned before you came there.
Exactly. Yeah. And you got there, now you don't like
that system. You're actually not making it better. So therefore, you are probably the problem within that system. But 100%. If you try to make it for the better, then you're doing something positive for it. And it's not working, move out.
100%.
Yeah, boy.
I hear you, man. Sure, my boy. I'll talk to you again, man. This was a really good conversation, man. Proper stuff, man. Good knowledge, you know. I mean, a lot of people can definitely benefit from this. I mean, I did big time, you know. A lot of people don't see themselves as a problem, you know, they always see the system as a problem. And I mean, like you said, everything in life is a system, and you got to look at it in both ways, you know. And I mean, you might not be the problem in the system. There might be a problem in the system that needs to be fixed, but then do not burn the entire system, and don't blame the system for the small problem that's in there. So I absolutely, man, big words, man. Thank you for this conversation, man. Appreciate you, man. Sure, bro.
Sure, my brother.